Okay, so one of the first gifts and one of the most important gifts that we got before we had our first baby was a crib. And when I don't know how many of you have had a crib before. Well, if you've had kids, you've gotten a crib. But anyway, when the crib arrived, and I remember, and you can, this can be verified because Lindsay's mom's here, and she was there in the room. But we got this crib out, and her dad, who like builds furniture, is there. So he's like, if it doesn't work, he'll just build something, okay? But we get this crib, it's ordered, it's a gift, incredible gift, and we start to put it together, and I mean, it must have been the most complicated piece of furniture ever in the history of man. Cribs are horrible. And I was warned, Steve, cribs are horrible. But I never experienced it till we started doing it. And we're like following instructions, and it's still like, have you ever built something and there's just like one like screw or just something that's just facing one direction off and it just messes the whole thing up? And then you're almost totally done and you experience like, we're almost done, and then no. And then we've got to tear it all down again. Those moments are brutal. But thank God for instructions. And so there was instructions, and we could go back and we could go, okay, here's what the instructions say again. And it took us forever, but we finally put it together. There's so many times where something or someone will give us instructions in how to do something. And what do we like to do typically? Last week I was talking about the map that God has for us and how a lot of times we're like, man, forget that. I'm going to figure it out. Well, a lot of times when something we receive that we're either going to build or something that's an opportunity for us, we're like, no, I got this. I know what I'm doing. And we start and we either try and put it together or build it. Now, I try and do this a lot just because my wife's family can build anything, and she married me. And I'm known for not being able to build things. And so when something arrives, she always does this, and I love her, and we're good, but she just says, honey, would you like me to help you do this? And I'm like, no, I got this. In fact, honey, it just says it needs a battery. Back off, okay? But so I try and build it. But a lot of times we resist these instructions, and we have to go back and we open the instructions, and then we go, okay, I just have to follow this, and then it works out. And this is the same way with our lives. There's so many times in our lives and in moments with God where I start doing something, and God, who just wants to pass on some instructions because he knows a little bit about this world that he created, and me, who he created, would like to just pass on some instructions. And I find so many times in my life that I say, God, I got this. I got this. But it's so critical because when he passes on instructions, and as we're going to look in a moment, as he passes on instructions, there is a moment for all of us where we can either listen and receive it, or we just let it be something that we maybe know, but we don't receive, and it just stays as instructions, maybe on a shelf or in a box that we never open. And so that's one huge thing that I want to talk about tonight. And the other huge thing is a word that we all cringe because we don't like it, from this big to where we're at today, and it's a word called discipline. And discipline is something that you just hear and you go, because when we grow up, none of us liked to be disciplined. Like, we didn't go, oh, hey, mom, hey, dad, could you just spank me today? Could you discipline me? Could I have time out? Yeah, I really just want to have time alone, which for a kid is like, could you just do that today? Because, I love it. No. And so we grow up with that. And discipline is always looked at as something negative, and we still look at it as negative. Is if your boss or your employer or just a family, I don't know how old you are, whatever, but who you deal with, maybe they have power to discipline you, okay? And we don't like it. We don't want it. Because, when we think of it, it means I did something wrong or I'm in trouble and they're trying to fix it. And when we look at both of these things, receiving instruction and being disciplined, they're both designed to what? They're both designed to create change. Now, one is out of necessity because I'm doing something that's wrong or causing harm and it needs to be addressed and fixed. or redirected. And the other thing really is designed to just help me do something more effectively, or it teaches me how to do something I've never done. When you buy something, you need those instructions. When you try something for the first time, or when you try and get better at something, one of the things I've been loving about the Olympics is like you're watching the top people at what they do in the world, and they all have coaches instructing them. Michael Phelps, who, like last night, I don't know if you watched, I was just watching, because I'm like, man, honey, and she was like passing out. I'm like, honey, this is history. This is like history. Like, you just got to watch this. This is history. Well, this is the guy for like the rest of the time, and no one's going to forget all this. And we were here, and we're alive for this. And just watching that, but thinking about the fact that he needs a coach. He needs instruction. And he's the most decorated athlete of all time. And so we have instructors. I talked about, I brought Wes up here who planted a church. He was someone I sought out to help give me wisdom and instruct when I started thinking about, hey, we're going to plant a church. And so I asked different people. I remember the first time I wanted to learn how to snowboard. And unfortunately, the only instructor that I knew was my younger brother, because he did it a lot. And so his understanding of what instructing is different than mine. And so he said, and I don't know how many black diamonds it was. I don't. And I forget how the ratings work. I just know that when there's more than one black diamond, you're in for it, okay? And so he says, all right, you're pretty athletic, you'll get this right away. So he goes, you just go up the hill with me and get in the chairlift, I'll take you up this hill, and we'll just go down it and you'll figure it out. Okay. All right, man, I got you. Brothers, all right? And I remember I have not felt pain back here. If you've ever gone snowboarding, now, because I used to make fun of snowboarders because I was a skier, and when snowboarding was hot, I was like, oh, sellouts, But snowboarding is actually really good for your knees. So I started doing it because I had bad knees. And so anyway, so that first time down, we go down, and it's ridiculous. It would have been hard on skis, but here I am, first time, like I'm wrecking as I get off the chairlift, and because it's just like, whoa, I'm locked in. I don't have two, I don't have these things. And then it's like, what do I do with my hands? So you're like, and then it's like, okay, well, people are looking at me funny, so now I'll do this, which looked even funnier. So then I was just trying to find what's cool with snowboarding, but I just boom, boom, boom. If you've never done it before, listen, don't plan a vacation for only 2 days and have one of them be on a snowboard. Like, you need at least 3 if you're going to jump on, because the first day, you're just going to be right here on your tail most of the day, or your face, because there's only 2 options, back or front, okay? And so that was not good instruction. And I shouldn't have received it. I should have said, there's the bunny hill, let's start there and build our way up, okay? But then I had someone else, the first time I remember trying wakeboarding, and they said, Steve, this is what you do, this is how you do it, this is what it looks like, this is the way to angle your body, all these things, and it's just like this sport, and I'm like, okay, and popped right up first time, and wakeboarding's always been easy for me. Good instructor, not so good instructor. Okay, so we need instructors and people to speak into our lives, and it's one thing for them to speak into it, right? But it's another thing for me to respond to it. And when we think about discipline, once again, we don't seek out discipline. We're not like, oh, yay, I'm going to be disciplined. We don't like it. I mean, I don't think any one of you that got in trouble in high school or middle school was like, when they came and said, hey, you need to go see the principal, I'm sure you weren't like, I get to meet the principal. Yes. No. Totally different thing, right? And I remember one of the time in high school, and this is verifiable because someone that went to high school with me is here. And I remember one of the first times I was asked to go to the principal's office, and it wasn't like, hey, let's go meet the principal. It was like, so in my school, now everything in our world is so different. But one of the things that happened when at the school I was at is someone had the idea of, let's start these food fights. And not just food fights. Like, we're talking massively epic food fights that rock your world. Okay, I'm talking like planned out. I remember and I think it was like 2 or 3 times in 1 week. All right, and And it got crazy. Like I remember kids with backpacks, and their backpacks didn't have books. They were tomatoes. They would literally go to stores and get tomatoes, fill their backpacks up, and they would come to school. I remember during the lunch, because all the kids knew, like, this is going down, that's the target. Principal was a target. And I remember kids, you would have trays. I don't even know if they have trays anymore, but they go through the lunch line and trays. Kids would opt out of food for their trays, which for a kid that's amazing. And they would take their tray to the ranch section and fill a tray with ranch so that they could take their tray and do that. You want to talk about just spray? And so anyway, at one of these lunches, and there was 2 lunches, I think, and so you kind of didn't know, and I'm like, oh, man, good for you guys. Like, the dude with the tomatoes, hey, man, good luck. Probably won't see you in a week because you're going to be suspended for that. But anyway, the target was the principal, and I'm sitting there, and it's like you can look around the room because everyone's starting to make eye contact, like it's on. And it's like not just the principal, but it's like if you have any enemies or people you don't like, which is high school, you've always got an enemy. It's like, you just start staring down. It's like, who's going to say go? Let's do this. And so then all of a sudden, the dude just gets up, and then it's just a free-for-all. Well, as it's free-for-alling, I realize where I'm at, which isn't a good location, because I look up, and the principal's standing right here. So I took a tomato to the back of the head. And I remember, because I was there, that I remember they thought I was involved. And so they brought me to the principal's office, and I remember, and I wasn't excited, like, yeah, I get to go to the principal's office and potentially be disciplined. But I went there, and I looked at him, I said, dude, I took a tomato for you. Okay? Like, look, like there were seeds in my hair for you. And the guy that threw the tomato, he apologized, we're good, all that. But I said, no, I get it. I was right next to him. Bad aim. You don't play baseball for the team. But anyway, I remember that. And I remember those moments where it's like, oh man, I'm going to get in trouble for this or this and that. And it's discipline. We don't like it. We don't want it. But we also know when there isn't discipline, by the way, they put cameras in that lunchroom because of that week. That's impressive. Okay? That's impressive. But without discipline comes chaos. And we know that without discipline, there isn't love. Because love cares. And because love cares, discipline actually, when it's administered how it's supposed to, discipline is an extension of love. And so as we talk about discipline here in this context of this book, you need to understand that when it says discipline, because we take these terms, and they're world terms really, and we put them through our grid of my experience, my life, my background, how I was raised, how I view the world, and God has a totally different filter system, and he says, no, discipline's good. And so we're going to read this and look at this and see how receiving and responding to instruction and then also discipline is critical for our lives. And the wisest guy to ever live, Solomon, who we should probably listen to, has some things to say about this as he's inspired by God to write. And in Proverbs 10:17, it says this: people who accept discipline are on the pathway to life, but those who ignore correction will go astray. And in another version, it talks about, instead of discipline, it just uses the word instruction. But it says people who accept discipline are on the pathway to life. Listen, godly discipline, when it happens, like any other discipline, it's not like, oh, yay, God is going to discipline me. Like I don't go, oh, good, I've been doing everything wrong, and now God's going to deal with me. Yay. Like, no, that's not how it feels in the moment, but it is something that when we understand it more, it's something that we've got to get ourselves willing to receive, willing to accept, and willing to do something about, because it says if you receive it and respond to it, you're on the pathway to life. And some of you just need to hear this because you felt like, man, God's like disciplining me. And you're just like, oh my gosh, well, everything ever happened. And it's like, hold up, time out. He says, if you will receive this and learn from it and walk with him, you'll be on the pathway of life. And the tendency, we just got to be real, because the tendency with all the junk that goes on in our world and all the junk that's really inside of us, because that term sin, which is just doing anything in contradiction to who God is or his will, that stuff just eats away at me all the time. And it creeps up all the time, and it's around us all the time, and it's not like it's accidental, it's there to get me to fall. And the reality is this: if I just start living life and saying, I'm just gonna live it and do my thing, I end up straying farther from God. I don't end up getting closer to God. And I think sometimes in our lives, we're just like, oh man, I'm just going to let this relationship with God just kind of be organic and just kind of do my own thing and just bring him in when I kind of want to and just live, right? And just be with God. And I'll pray and all that. No. Like here's the deal. We don't function like that. The world doesn't function like that. We continually find ourselves in situations when we just say, I'm going to live for me. And we go, man, how did I get there? What happened? Well, we don't just naturally pursue God. And so it's something we have to actively do and say and go, man, I gotta pursue God. I gotta pursue this relationship with Jesus. We all need this. And so when we look at discipline, man, discipline from God is the thing that gets me back on track. Discipline with God is an extension of God's love for me, because he says, Steve, I'm starting to see you go down this direction. And I'm not okay with it, because you want to experience the fulfillment of who I am in your life. Well, going that way won't work for you. And he knows. And so he steps down, and I experience discipline. And I'll just say this, because I've definitely been disciplined by God, okay? And I always joke that God doesn't just do that still small whisper with me. It's the 2x4 relationship that me and him have. And I've experienced it, but I'll tell you this, everything that's great in my life has come out of discipline from God. The greatest decisions I've made have come out of moments and areas of discipline. But I didn't run from it. I received it and was able to change course. And that's when we see the beauty of who God is. When you open this book and see the moments where he reaches down, whether it's the nation of Israel, whether it's an individual leader or a person, and he steps in and says, no, you're done with this. Or like I'm not going to put up with this. And he steps in those moments. What you see this God doing is he reaches down, and you see restoration, you see repentance, you see redemption. That's what you see out of discipline. With discipline comes hope. And it says what about those who choose to just ignore it and pretend it's not there? It says they will go astray. In other words, they fall off the wagon. They either don't allow others to call them out, or they'll say things like, you're judging me. It's my life. It's not yours. Like, you do your thing. It's my life. Don't judge me. They'll say that to others, but then the danger is we will say that to God. And he goes, oh, hey, you want to go down that road? It's not going to work out. And I'm so thankful God disciplined me. It's weird even saying that. Like, thank you, God, for stepping down and saying, Steve, I'm not okay with this. And I think, part of it leads to this love that I have for him more, but it also helps me understand other verses. And in Proverbs 12:1, he continues with this same thought because it's important. And he says in 12:1, to learn, you must love discipline. To learn, you must love discipline. And then I love what this says here in the NLT. It is stupid to hate correction. I love it. Like some of us think, oh, the Bible's so fluffy. No. It is stupid to hate correction. You must love discipline, but it's stupid to hate correction. This is how I learn. It's how I grow, embracing the discipline when it's brought down to me. And like I said, I don't love it. In the moment, I'm not like, yay, thank you, God, for being upset with me. No, but after it's done, I realize it and I go, okay, God, awesome. Because when God disciplines us, And the reason that that verse is there is because discipline from God protects you from something you can't see. And he also has things that he wants to bless you and give to you that whatever you're doing that's not right is holding you back from. And so when he steps down in discipline or something doesn't go right and you just go, oh man, I know that, God, yeah. And sometimes someone you don't even like. Have you ever had someone that you don't even respect or like or value their opinion come up to you and say something to you and you're just like, and you walk away and you go, I think they were right. That's a bad moment. But that happens, and God can speak in things like that and discipline us through that. I've had those moments where someone will like yell at me, and I'll just go, all right, yay, thank you, and you're done. And I walk away, and sometimes there's some truth there. And I either just ignore it altogether or I receive what it is and move forward. And so when you see discipline as a way for God to bless you with more or to protect you from something you can't see, it changes. And that's why David in Psalm 119, 167, he says this, and I always used to go, why are you saying this? But he says, I have obeyed your laws, for I love them very much. I have obeyed your laws, for I love them very much. Now, why in the world does this guy, the guy who says has a heart after God's own heart, say, I have obeyed your laws and I love your laws? Who says that? He loves them because it brings him back continually to how to do this. He looks at this book, at the laws written in this book, and it's not like this list of performance. No. It's really what it is. It's the bumpers in the lane that keep me centered where I'm supposed to be. Because God does not want you to have a life where you survived. If you want to think about it, God has gotten the bumpers there so that you can get a strike. Like that's his point with your life. It's not, hey, let's just get Steve through this. No. He says, I've taken time, I've been intentional, I've thought of Steve, I've thought of these individuals, I've thought of their lives way before them, and I got something big that I'm gonna do. And the reality is, as I walk through this life, I either go, hey, thanks for the discipline, God, but I got this, or I receive it, I change course, and then, like David says, I look at this book differently because now I look at it as instruction, as love, and even when it just beats me in the face, I go, God, I'm wrong. Thank you. Because I know your goal isn't to beat Steve up. Your goal is to free Steve. Your goal is to cause Steve to experience him in a way that's limitless. And so it comes back to this whole instruction and that he wants to give us and the discipline and but will we receive it? And at the beginning of Proverbs, and I've shared this verse before, I love how at the start of Proverbs, it just says, listen, we're not going to pull any punches with you. This is what Proverbs is designed to do. And in Proverbs 1, 2, and 3, it just says this. And like I said, I love it. And I'm gonna read this in the NAS version because sometimes the NAS is just like literal what's up, okay? But it says, to know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding, to receive instruction and wise behavior. So what it's saying here, the point of this whole book of Proverbs is to know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding, to receive instruction and wise behavior. He wants us to know the instructions for our lives. He wants you to know it. He has not delivered the goods, the furniture, and said, good luck, build up your life and see what happens. No. He always remembers to send the instructions. And you and I have instructions all over our houses. You and I have instructions as an app on our phone. You and I have instructions on our computers. You and I have instructions literally everywhere. We don't even know where our Bibles are half the time. And it's God's set of instructions to us, and it's a gift to us so that we don't go, God, what do I do with my life? How do I do this? How do I live this? What does this mean? Is this right? Is this wrong? Like, what do I do? And he says, no. Listen. I didn't just say, hey, good. I took all this time to form you, and because I love you so much. And yeah, that was a big deal. You know, I kind of sent my only son for you and all that. But no, I just figured, let's just let him see how life is. No. Like, this is so critical because it's instructions. Like, this is his words to you and how to do this. Like you wonder, why do I say mentoring is one of our 3 pillars? Because mentoring is all about learning this and applying it in the real world. Why is church important? It's not so that you can just make me like, oh, it feels so good. People are here. Yay, we planted a church and people showed up. No, you got to come because it's like, man, I need to get fed. Everything's feeding me. Everything in this world is feeding me, but I need this to feed me. And so when you come here, I better open this up because you got to get fed. And so these are important things in our lives. And as we look at this, I love how it says, listen, you need to have this daily time with God. You need to have this instruction. But the other part in verse 3 is so critical. It said what? That you have to be willing to receive it. This book is written not just to give, but you have to receive the instruction. You can know and understand, but have you received it? Some of us are living our lives and we're just trying to put it together by our own thoughts, opinions, and we're leaving the instructions in the box. We're building our lives how we want. And we choose to ignore God and kind of this book, and it's kind of our good luck charm, and and we'll bring it around sometimes just to let our coworkers know, hey, yeah, I'm a Christian. Or we'll drop it off, or moments when it is cool to be a Christian, we're like, yeah, I'm one of those. But it's really not, we haven't received the instructions because it's not a part of our lives, and it's still a whole bunch of us in this. It says if you don't receive it, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. So I guess my question is, he's given you the instructions. Are you ignoring the instructions? Are you just doing this? Are you missing out on the completed work? Because I don't know about you, but I don't care if it's instructions or not. If I finish, like that crib, I don't know if we all celebrated, went out partying or what. But there it is. The manufacturer didn't go, hey, this will throw them off. Boy, this is going to be a jacked up piece of furniture. Let's give them these jacked. No, they're like, this is a great product. You need it. And when it's done and finished and complete, it's amazing. But you're going to need these instructions. In life, God has this finished product with all of us. And it's beautiful. It's amazing. And we need the instructions. And the instructions come from his word. Are you figuring it out for yourself or using his instructions? And then I want to read this verse, and I really want us to just challenge our minds. As in Proverbs 29:17, he says this: discipline your children, and they will give you peace of mind and will make your heart glad. Let me read that again. Discipline your children, and they will give you peace of mind and will make your heart glad. Now being a parent, and I never stand up here and act like, I figured parenting out, because I think every week it's just different. But one of the most important things is as you look at discipline in your family or in your kids, you've got to be diligent, and you've got to be, you've got to be consistent with it, and you've got to follow through with it. And one of the reasons he says this, Solomon, a guy who wrote this, and then his kids literally destroyed his kingdom after he wrote this. But one of the things here that just is huge for me is because when I discipline my kids, and really Kingston, because Bronx, if I discipline him, he just looks at me like, I don't even speak. What are you doing? Why are you saying no to me? Like just love me, look at me, laugh at me, okay? But Kingston now, we're there, and there's moments of discipline, and it's hard, but you got to be diligent with it. But then there's glimpses of like God just going, look, where he'll bring his little Bible and say, Bible, book, read. And I'm just like, what do you want? Let's go to Target. Pick whatever you want. Like, you know what I mean? You're just done. And those moments, not the moments where I don't want to go to bed, but those moments there are moments that you just go, God, you love me and you love him. And God, I don't know what you're going to do with his life, but I'm so excited about it. And I just sit there and I start thinking about it. It's just a glimpse for me. But I love how he says, if you're diligent and you discipline your kids, and it's not, hey, you should be beating your kids diligently. it'll make you feel good. No, it's not what it's saying. He's being diligent, be smart, be wise, and do it as an extension of love because you care about them so, so much. And he says, if you will do that, they will make you joyful. They will bring peace and joy to your heart. Have you ever talked to a parent whose kids care nothing about God, who care nothing about following Jesus, who are doing their own things, and these parents are scared for their lives as they're out there. They don't know where their moral compass is, and they don't know what to do, and all these things, but the kids are out now. If you've ever spoken to a parent like that, they will tell you this. They will tell you how important this is. And it's sad, but I look at this and I don't go, oh, this is great. This is just good for Kingston and me and our family. No. I look at this as so much bigger because one of the names of God is God the Father. And I look at this and I go, man, we are all these created, we're these children of God and this whole thing. And I love it because then I think of it in that context of as my heavenly Father, and he says, I am going to diligently discipline you, Steve. But as a result, and if you receive and accept and are obedient with the discipline, you are going to bring incredible joy and peace to me, and I'm going to be pleased with you. Man, I read that now and I go, man, I want to give God peace of mind. I want to make God's heart glad. You want to make him happy, receive and respond to his instruction and correction, and know that it comes from a love for you that you can't even comprehend. And maybe this is a defining moment for you. Maybe he's instructing you right now. Maybe he's like in the process of saying, hey, listen, it's time. And I can't stress this enough because I think a lot of times we hear messages of this and that, and I just kind of go on my way. Or I go, oh, that was good. Where are we going to go to eat? And I move on. But there's moments sometimes where this is bigger than that. And I think this is one of those moments where to ignore his instruction, which is dangerous. And it's dangerous because he just litters his instruction manual with stories of people that did. You've got a guy like Moses who just went through everything to get this nation out of this. And what is the goal of Moses? The promised land. Well, guess what happens? Because Moses just could not respond how he was supposed to the discipline and correction of God. Guess what happens? He gets him to the edge of the promised land. God even takes him up on a mountain to see it, but he never gets to go in. Now, he got to watch the waters part. Now, that's a close second. That's pretty good, okay? I'd like to be there for that. But the promised land, the whole point, he sees it, but he doesn't get to go in. You look at a guy like that wrote this book, Solomon, and you just see his legacy is forever ruined because of his inability to follow through with words that were so important to him from God's mind to his so much earlier, but he couldn't maintain. And so that same discipline that he would receive and respond and change to, he was now figured out he was so smart and he was good and he could get himself out of anything, but no, not anymore. You look at Judas, I think all of us go, man, what would it have been like to be with Jesus by his side to follow him? Or man, I'd have faith like Peter and all those guys if I had been with Jesus. Well, Judas was with Jesus all the time. And Judas was not only there, but guess what? When we talk about listening and having understanding, like he was there, front row seat with Jesus, hearing it, helping other people hear it, and managing his money. And this is Judas. And so he's got the instruction that all of us are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I wish I could be there. I wish I could see it. And Judas sees this and he's around it. But guess what? It was all instruction. It was never received. And as a result of Judas, we have the cross. As a result of Judas and that moment and all of that, it was too much to bear and he ends his own life when he realizes what he's done. And those are just little warnings for us that, listen, there's instruction and it's there for you and this is here for you and it's a tool for you and it's going to help you with life. But if you just say whatever, if when God speaks down to you and says, hey, this is time for a change, and you just go, hey, that's cool. God, you do your thing, I'll do mine. You can do that, but it doesn't work out. Receive and respond to it. I want to read this last thing, and I'm not telling you to turn there because it's in Numbers, and some of you just don't even want to think about the book of Numbers. But I want to read this little story to you because, and I just want you to listen as I read it. And some of you have heard this story before, but it's just so stinking powerful and speaks to us because it is us. And in Numbers 22, verses 21 through 34. I'm just going to read this to you, and I want you to listen to it. But here's the situation. Moses is leading these Israelites, and they're wiping out these different nations. And one of the nations is the Moabites. The Moabites have a king named King Balak. And he sees what they've done. He saw what happened to the Egyptians, and he's like, oh no, they're coming after us. And so he goes out to try and hire prophets to curse Israel. And so he finds this guy, because prophets loved getting paid, and finds this guy named Balaam. And he says, and Balaam receives the money and then is going to follow them because he's going to curse the Israelites for them as a representative of God. And this is what happens to Balaam. In Numbers 22, verse 21, just listen as I read this story. So the next morning, Balaam got up, saddled his donkey, and started off with the Moabite officials. But God was angry that Balaam was going. So he sent the angel of the Lord to stand in the road to block his way. As Balaam and two servants were riding along, Balaam's donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand. The donkey bolted off the road into a field, but Balaam beat it and turned it back onto the road. They didn't have PETA back then. Then the angel of the Lord stood at a place where the road narrowed between two vineyard walls. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it tried to squeeze by and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. So Balaam beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved farther down the road and stood in a place too narrow for the donkey to get by at all. This time, when the donkey saw the angel, it lay down under Balaam. In a fit of rage, Balaam beat the animal again with the staff. Then the Lord gave the donkey the ability to speak. What have I done to you that deserves your beating me 3 times? Now, I have got a couple dogs that have ticked me off a few times. Not going to lie. But if they turned around and started speaking back to me, I don't know what I would do. And so this donkey says, what have I done to you that deserves your beating me 3 times? It asked Balaam. And he responded like this is normal. You have made me look like a fool, Balaam shouted. Imagine being one of the servants and just watching this interaction. Yep, this is going on. They didn't have social media. That would have been on social media like that. Balaam shouted, if I had a sword with me, I would kill you. But I'm the same donkey you have ridden all your life. The donkey answered, have I ever done anything like this before? No, Balaam admitted. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the roadway with a drawn sword in his hand. Balaam bowed his head and fell down on the ground before him. Why did you beat your donkey those 3 times? The angel of the Lord demanded. Look, I have come to block your way because you are stubbornly resisting me. 3 times the donkey saw me and shied away. Otherwise, I would certainly have killed you by now and spared the donkey. Then Balaam confessed to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned. I didn't realize you were standing in the road to block my way. I will return home if you are against my going. I don't know what road you're on. I don't know the instruction manual that you're operating out of. But are you listening? Are you receiving? Are you responding to his instruction? And if you're on the road of you, is he right now standing in the middle of the road saying, stop, stop? And listen, some of us just need to understand and know that God can speak and use anything to get our attention. And guess what? He didn't wake up going, that donkey's going to talk to me and convict me and change my life. But God used that donkey to speak to him. And you know what? I don't know, but I don't know how God uses anything he wants, but he will speak, and you need to be ready, and you need to listen, and it could come from an unlikely place and an unlikely source. And will you be ready? Will you be willing to listen, to receive, and most importantly, respond? He loves you so much. Let the guy who did all of this and said, I love you so much, let him direct you in the way that blesses you the most. Let me pray. God, thank you for your instructions. Thank you for the discipline that you hand out as an extension of love. And God, I just ask for forgiveness as I continually find myself trying to build my life without the instruction manual. And thank you for caring enough to step down and say, Steve, stop. This isn't my best for you. And Lord, I just pray that we would stop looking at this Bible as a list, as just another thing to check off the box, and we would actually look at it and receive it as as your chosen words for us, to inspire us, to convict us, to grow us, not so that you can hold us back, but so that you can free us into this incredible life, into this destiny that you have planned as you were shaping and forming us. And God, I just want a taste of that. I want a glimpse of that. And I don't just want it for me, I want it for this church. I want it for the people in here that say, I'm a Jesus follower. Because Lord, you didn't call us to a relationship where we just hold hands and skip through life. You said, follow me. And so Lord, that means I need to get behind you and allow you to lead the way, and allow you to speak to me, allow you to instruct me. And so right now, wherever anybody's at in this room, I just pray that you would just reach down in your sovereign way, that you would speak through a donkey, that you would speak through whoever you need to speak, that maybe a TV tonight would just start talking back to us. Whatever it takes, God, I just pray for that hard discipline for us, because I know that the greatest thing that scares me is when you don't care to discipline me anymore. God, help me to welcome it. Help me to look at it just as David did and say, I love it because it leads me down the lane that ends in a strike. So bring us back to you. In Jesus' name, amen.